Hey Sagittarius, welcome to Sweet Tea Astrology and Tarot. My name is Erica. How are you doing after these eclipses? We went through 3 in less than a month. I hope you're well. Why don't you sit a spell so we can talk about the stars for a minute? This is going to be a short video, but I'll be back full force for October. Lots has gone on in September. I've done, it feels like a video series every week for 12 signs for the last month, so I'm tired. This is a new moon in Libra at 8 degrees. I put the question forth to my viewers and my subscribers asking if you were interested in a Jupiter in Libra series, and I got a very positive response to that. So what I decided to do was combine the new moon in Libra series with the Jupiter in Libra series, because it's the same energy, or it's happening in the same house. Let's talk about that. So Jupiter moved into Libra on September 9th. Jupiter is the planet of increase, excess, and expansion, and Libra is the sign. It's a cardinal air sign that's known for being balanced, harmonious, and reconciliatory, but it's also known for being indecisive, unbalanced, and flighty. Now, I said that this is a new moon in Libra. It's 8 degrees. This is called a black new moon, and it's called a black new moon because it's the second new moon in a calendar month. Think of it kind of like the blue moon phenomena, where there is 2 full moons in a calendar month. This is the same idea, but it's just a different lunar cycle. It's new moons, and it's a different color, so it's black. But this is a powerful time for new beginnings in relationships and partnerships. And all of this is occurring in your 11th house. The 11th house is ruled by Aquarius, and this is the house of your friendships. This is a house of your real-life friends, your online friends, your gaming friends, your internet friends, your social media friends. This is the house of the groups that you belong to. This is the house of the memberships and associations that you may belong to. This is the house of your future wishes, your future goals, your bucket list. So, you're going to probably have an increase or expansion in your friendship circle or in your friendship group, however you choose to see that. You could also have an increase in just your bucket list, just what you want to do more things. And that's not a bad thing. That's a beautiful thing. Wanting to experience more of life is always a good thing. So, Sagittarius, Saturn is still hanging out in your sign as well, and will be for a little while. Breathe, baby, breathe. The one thing that I can say about a Saturn transit through your sign is the Serenity Prayer is really very important when you're going through that. I'm going to be pulling 3 oracle cards for you from the Halloween Oracle deck by Stacey DeMarco. Once again, because I was shuffling, it's the Halloween Oracle deck by Stacey DeMarco. I got this as a gift or a little present for my 2,000th subscriber when I was in Monroe, Louisiana. So I walked in and I saw it, and I just couldn't leave the store without it. So it's a little festive. I wanted to be seasonal and a little festive, like I said. I'm going to use these cards as well in the October readings. But since this is a new deck, I will be reading from the Oracle Guidebook, just so you can see what the original messages are for that. I'm also going to be trying to give you anything that I'm seeing personally from it as well. What I'm going to do is pull the bottom card and the top 2. For 3 in total. Alright, Sag, let's see what's going on. Ooh. Okie doke. Midnight, the most magical hour of all. And she's standing behind a clock. Time could feel like it's either moving very slow or very fast for you. You also may be dealing with some insomnia. Or your friends may be wanting you to stay out later. The second card is Graveyard, dealing with unnecessary fears. This is not the first card, or I've seen both of these cards in other readings, so you're not the only people that are traveling through that energy. The last card that you got is the Mummy card, dealing with change. And that is indicative to Saturn being transiting through. And you also were dealing with the Mars retrograde season as well. So you've been undergoing a lot, and there's been a lot of changes that have come through. There's probably more to come. Let's see what Midnight has to say to you. Midnight, the most magical hour of all. The middle of the night, midnight, is the hour in which it is believed that ghosts, witches, ghouls, and magic are most likely to be active. Transition time, such as noon, the time between the tides, or even the dark moon, which is what we will be dealing with, are traditionally powerful times for magical transformation. In some Christian traditions, the witching hour is seen as 3 a.m. because it is the opposite to the time that Jesus is said to have died, at 3 p.m. But there is some consensus that midnight is the time of greatest magic, particularly around Halloween. As soon as the clock strikes midnight on Halloween, it is said that the spirits flow toward and forward through the veil, and if benevolent, bring positive messages, and if not so benevolent, they're mischievous and play tricks, or at best, or at worst, they cause havoc. Allow yourself to relax into the benevolent darkness of midnight. You may feel that this is your darkest hour, but know that light will return again. The dawn always follows the darkest night. Know, too, that it is important to recognize that we all have some darkness within us, just as we have light, and this isn't something to hide from, but it is something for us to balance. Reading that, it also made me want to tell you what I would say for any card that had a majority black background in the regular tarot card spread, and that would be that it's always darkest before dawn, and you could feel like you are going through the dark night of the soul right now, and that is very indicative of a Saturn return or a Saturn transit through your sign. The second card that you received is Graveyard, dealing with unnecessary fear. Let's see what the Graveyard needs to say. Today's modern graveyards are restful places. They're normally highly manicured and very well set out. They can be places of profound sadness, but few are the creepy Gothic places of old, yet they still hold an undercurrent of fear and seem frightening places. Due to countless stories of haunted graveyards, the thought of walking through cemeteries evokes a fear in many of us. We imagine zombies and ghosts rising from graves, and bad spirits hiding out, waiting to harm the unsuspecting living person who walks by. The idea of being at a graveyard after dark, or at worst midnight, and isn't it funny that we had the midnight card, is the stuff of dares and nightmares. But it isn't the way with every culture. On the Mexican Day of the Dead, whole families picnic on the graves of their loved ones who have passed before. Children play on the graves, people play music and drink wine and share food, all in the company of the dead, all in the company of their ancestors gone before. Graveyard dust is used as an ingredient in protective spells, not in curses. If you pull this card, know that you are fearing unnecessarily. Things are not as they seem, and you can overcome your obstacles. The anxieties that you have, although real, should be set aside before they haunt you in the long term. Instead, know that you know the correct next steps and that you will know how to act upon them as well. Don't fear the change. The last card is the Mummy card, speaking to change. Don't fear the change. Embrace it. The only thing that's constant in this life and in this world is change. The ancient Egyptians took death very seriously, and death was not seen as many of us see it, a finality to be dreaded, but is just the beginning of a new life, often an eternal life, in a better place, called the afterlife. The practice of honoring and preserving the body through a complex process of mummification was central to ancient Egyptian culture. This was not just a physical embalming process, but a carefully enacted ritual process that ensured preservation into the next world. Many other cultures also mummified the dead, including the Incas, the Argentinians, and many of the cultures of the Torres Strait Islands. If I didn't pronounce that right, I'm sorry. In our modern horror genres, the mummy has become an icon. From early horror writing to the turn-of-the-century very popular films The Mummy and The Mummy Returns, the plot normally revolves around the mummy returning to life and cursing and hunting down the living. The discovery of King Tut's tombs and other long-hidden Egyptian treasures in the 1920s, in particular, sparked an explosion in mummy-related films and architecture literature. Should you pull the Moaning Mummy card from the deck, know that change is inevitable and that no matter how hard you try, things will not be preserved exactly the same way. The card also indicates that this change will be for the barrier, so don't have unnecessary fear about it. The endings, the closed doors, the barriers, this is just a healthy pause, an indication that a change of tactics is needed. You are not cursed, you have just developed a pattern. You can take control and change it. It's very empowering to hear, Sagittarius. I hope you enjoyed this mini reading, this Halloween Oracle card reading for you. Jupiter is once again in your 11th house until October 2017, and we will be having this 8-degree new black moon in Libra in your 11th house as well. It's where your friends are. It's where your dreams are. It's where your bucket list is. So, be gentle with yourself. Employ your self-care measures. Take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself. And save some of that kindness for others. Because we're all fighting private battles that no one else knows about.